Ilia Topuria versus Charles Oliveira is official. Ilia Topuria just locked in his biggest opportunity yet, facing Charles Oliveira for the vacant lightweight title at UFC 317. But instead of celebrating, Topuria went straight for Islam Makhachev's neck. In his announcement, he wrote, "It's unfortunate that Makhachev ran away." That's not a subtle jab. That's a full-on accusation that Islam ducked him. Meanwhile, Charles Oliveira is keeping it professional. He said, "I'm not focused on what the other guys are doing. My team is analyzing Topuria. I'm going all in like never before." He's confident in his striking, his power, and his ability to surprise. But here's the question. Did Islam truly run away? Or is this just Topuria trying to stir the pot before the biggest fight of his life? Aljamain Sterling's warning for Oliveira. Aljamain Sterling chimed in on the matchup, and while he's impressed with Charles's history, he slightly favors Topuria. Why? Because Ilia fights like a bulldozer on rails. If he's moving forward, he's nearly impossible to stop. Aljo said Charles has to push Ilia backward, force him to retreat. That's easier said than done. Sterling added that grappling early could be Oliveira's best chance. If Charles can wrestle and wear Ilia down, he might slow the storm. But even then, it's hard to ignore the fact that we've seen Charles break before, and we haven't seen that from Topuria. Not yet. Islam Makhachev. Vacated or not? Here's where it gets confusing. Dana White said Islam vacated the lightweight title so he could fight Jack Della Maddalena at welterweight. But Islam's manager Ali Abdelaziz says that's not true. He insists Islam never gave up the belt and still sees himself as champion. Ali says the UFC already promised Islam will fight for the title, no matter what. If Jack pulls out, Islam still gets a title fight. Not an interim one, a full, undisputed belt. So is Ilia versus Charles for the real thing? Or are we all watching the backup plan? Jack Della Maddalena's rapid rise. JDM's win over Belal Muhammad was a statement. He outstruck Belal, stuffed takedowns, and made it look clean. Now he's getting a massive test in Islam Makhachev, and UFC legends think he's ready. Michael Bisping said Belal's grappling was the perfect warm-up for facing a guy like Islam. Dominic Cruz noted Jack's improvements in footwork and cage awareness. Daniel Cormier questioned if Islam can even handle someone Jack's size. This is Makhachev's first fight at 170. Will the extra weight help him or slow him down? Jon Jones versus Daniel Cormier. Again? Jon Jones randomly reopened his rivalry with DC. He claimed he would have beaten Cormier worse at heavyweight than he did at light heavyweight. He said his speed and power would have overwhelmed DC. Cormier wasn't having it. He fired back and reminded fans that Jon used to refuse to fight him at heavyweight. And there's proof. Jones once said giving DC a size advantage made no sense. So why rewrite history now? Maybe because the spotlight is fading. Curtis Blaydes and Aspinall want Jones stripped. Curtis Blaydes reposted a quote from Tom Aspinall that said, "I've had enough." His comment? Can't blame him. Jon should be stripped. These aren't casual remarks. These are top contenders openly demanding that the UFC move on from Jones. He hasn't defended his belt. He's barely active. And now the division is on pause while he tweets from the sidelines. Khalil Rountree sharpens the blade. Training footage of Khalil Rountree sparring with Luke Rockhold surfaced this week, and it showed serious improvements. Rountree was calm, precise, and calculated. Coaches shouted cues mid-session. Down the middle, jab to the body. He's preparing for a high-stakes bout against Jamal Hill at UFC Baku. And this might be the best version of Khalil we've ever seen. Fight announcements and backups. Several key matchups just dropped. Nasruddin Imavov is now the official backup for Dricus du Plessis versus Khamzat Chimaev at UFC 319. Smart move, especially with Khamzat's history of pulling out. Derek Lewis versus Jailton Almeida is booked for July 12th in Nashville. Lewis is coming off a violent knockout win. Almeida is still undefeated. This is a pure brawl waiting to happen. Shara Bullet versus Marc-Andre Barriault is set for UFC Abu Dhabi. Shar is looking to rebound after his first career loss, and Barriault is riding a vicious KO win. Expect fireworks. Jon Onyx's advice for Belal Muhammad. After Belal's loss to JDM, Jon Onyx offered some thoughtful advice. He said Belal should stop trying to force trash talk like, "Du Plessis sucks." It doesn't sound like him, and fans notice when something feels fake. Onyx added, "The guy I know is smart and genuine. That's who people connect with." It raises the question, does Belal feel pressure to change who he is to stay relevant? Title picture chaos. The UFC's lightweight and welterweight scenes are spiraling. Ilia and Charles are fighting for a belt that Makhachev's team says he never lost. Islam is chasing gold at 170, but might get his lightweight belt back without even defending it. Meanwhile, Jack Della Maddalena is the wild card disrupting everything. Add in Jon Jones sitting on the heavyweight title, and now you've got 3 divisions in a holding pattern. The UFC may be on fire, but it's not the kind of fire anyone can control.